Yes. So Awaken Kingdom is a global community of passionate women leaders committed to advancing the kingdom of God, especially in the business world. Our mission is to restore women's identity, equip them with their unique gifts, and provide healing services and offer comprehensive leadership training to launch them as empowered disciples in the business sphere. So this is a new thing we're working on now. We will be talking about it more in the few next months. It's the launch of a discipleship program to help women spread the kingdom of God in the business world. So I'm so happy that we have Maryse with us. It's our second talk. So Maryse, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. And we're really looking forward to hear more from you. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you, Joelle. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you today. So my name is Maryse Fringy. I live in Virginia, the US. I'm originally from Lebanon. I've been living in the US for about 19 years. I'm married to a Maronite Catholic priest, and that's why we live in Virginia after we living in New York for many years. And when I was in New York, I got introduced, and you'll hear about this in my presentation today, to the Create and Model fertility care system, and I became a practitioner, and then later I became a supervisor and educator. And that's been really what I've been dedicating my time to, this ministry, women's ministry, marriage preparation ministry. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to share with you about this, because unfortunately, these are like secrets kept from women and couples, which you deserve to know about them. So thank you for the opportunity to share this information with all of you. And it will be, as you see, it's recorded, so you can even access it later, and you can share it with other people who would like you would like them to know more about this technique and this method that can be helpful in many ways. I'm gonna start sharing my screen. I want to thank you, Joelle and Adeline, for the opportunity of being here. So as most of you know, this is the second talk. So the first talk was given 2 weeks ago, and then I'm going to recap the first talk. So in the first talk, we spoke about discovering, embracing our dignity, and we touched more on how we can reclaim that and be empowered through the knowledge of fertility care and NaProTECHNOLOGY, which is what I'm going to talk about it today in more detail. So the objectives of today's presentation is to get a better knowledge, understanding, and appreciation of your fertility as a gift from God, to empower you to be an advocate for your own gynecological health by discovering the new technology that helps us find out real solutions to real problems, and to equip you to live your sexuality fully as God wills it. But before I continue, I need to really make sure that this point is very clear. First of all, this presentation is not meant to interfere with any medical management or to specifically teach you the Create and Model fertility care system. It is just to let you know that there may be another option for you that you're not familiar with it. And I need you to be aware that I am not a medical consultant. I'm not a medical professional, even though I'm going to be talking about NaProTECHNOLOGY, but I'm not going in depth in it and in treatments for different problems, because that's not my specialty and that's not my role. And usually I don't do that, because I usually have, whenever I organize series of talks, I would have a medical consultant who can come and talk about this. And I was actually trying to get one medical consultant to join us, at least for the Q&A, but unfortunately it's in the middle of the day here in the US, so I couldn't do that. But I can direct you to or I can tell you how, if I cannot answer your questions, how those questions can be answered. So just to recap from last time, we went back to creation. We spoke about how we are created in the image and likeness of God, and that we are created with equal dignity, man and woman, and our dignity does not come from anything we do, but it comes from who we are. We are God's precious daughter. We are his beloved daughters, his beloved princesses, if you want to say it so, and we are precious in his eyes. Yet, unfortunately, the enemy tries to rob us of our identity, try to make us forget that our identity lies in God who loves us, and each one of us has her own mission. And one of the lies that this culture has been trying to convince us of is that if we embrace our vocation fully, especially our vocation to motherhood, if we try to appreciate our fertility, this can be really a problem in living our vocation. So the culture that we live in has been really trying to attack women and their core being, and to lead us into disobeying God's first commandment to man and woman about being fruitful and filling the earth and subdue it. So many lies have been filling our lives about us trying to be like man, needing to be like man, about us not being able to have families and be educated and excel in the professional realm, when this is really not a truth, and it's just more lies from this culture. So we spoke about how appreciating our fertility and embracing motherhood really does not destroy our dreams. And our fertility is a gift from God. It's something sacred, and we are called to cooperate with God's love, with his generative ability to create life. And one way we can do that is really through fertility care, by appreciating our fertility and taking care of our health. And that's what we're going to focus on for the rest of this presentation. Last time, if you remember, I shared with you a story from this book about a woman who was suffering from severe symptoms indicating that she had endometriosis, but instead of her being offered real treatment, she was offered alternative that did not treat the problems. And as a result, she ended up having children, and she's suffering. And when similar situation came to Dr. Hilgers, and he helped the woman to be treated from endometriosis and got pregnant, they refused to publish it in the journal magazine because they want to hide this information from you. We are here because we believe you should be empowered and proactive with this knowledge. You are part of the solution. You have the right to learn about this authentic health, this authentic women's healthcare with the Creighton model fertility care system and NaProTECHNOLOGY, this restorative reproductive medicine where science and faith are united. You do not have to choose between your faith and between science, but you can find the two there in this unique method and technology. We are having this presentation because we really believe you have the right to know this information. Through the Creighton model system, we will help you understand and work how, well, actually Creighton model helps you understand and work with your body to find and address the root cause, not just the symptoms. Through the Creighton model system, we seek to help you appreciate and take care of your fertility, embrace and live to the fullest your multidimensional sexuality through spice. And through NaProTECHNOLOGY, which is very different from suppressive and destructive approach, it works cooperatively with the woman's natural cycle and gynecological system to identify problems and provide real solutions to these problems. So it's time for you to discover what you have the right to know, what every couple needs to know. I'm gonna just briefly share my own testimony, which led me to do this work and kind of be involved in it full time. When I got married over 20 years ago, and I was still living in Lebanon, my husband was living in the US, so I had to come to the US like about 9 months after our wedding. So everyone before we got married were like, you have to take the birth control pill. You have to be careful. You cannot get pregnant. If you get pregnant, this will not allow you to travel to the US. So I remember at that time, I was confused. I didn't want to take the birth control pill. I remember hearing about it in religion class in school. It was mentioned as a means of killing. We were not told what it does or anything, but I remember just hearing this about it, and it stuck with me. So I decided to go to my parish pastor and ask him. And he told me, yes, don't take the pill. He suggested to me the calendar rhythm method, which consists basically in counting days from the first day of your period until like 14 days of the cycle. You consider those days to be fertile, and then you avoid having intercourse if you want to avoid getting pregnant. So we start using it, and we didn't get pregnant. And then we continued on using it for 1 year, and we thought that it was successful. Then the second year of our marriage, we decided to use it the opposite way to get pregnant. To our surprise, we didn't get pregnant. And that's when we realized that this method is not scientifically based. This method is not accurate and it's not reliable. It worked for us because we had an infertility problem, not because it works, not because it's effective. We discovered that we had an infertility problem. We were despaired. We were told that IVF was the only option offered to us. And I can never forget that encounter with the fertility specialist in her office. It did not last even 10 minutes, but I remember her words very clearly. "We will make you baby in the lab." It was just lacking compassion, no love, no mercy. It was like she was saying it as she's going to make a sandwich in the kitchen. It was really heartbreaking, but we were desperate. So we wanted to do that. But once I heard more about the procedure, I just felt like, no way, I cannot do that. I just couldn't. Once I heard about all the embryos that will be destroyed, I didn't feel I can do that. And please, if anyone is listening, who done IVF or know people who've done IVF, I'm not judging anyone's action. God has a plan for each one of us. I just couldn't go with it. I was convinced it's not right for me, and it didn't sit right with me. And I would not encourage any woman to do it. So I refused to do it myself, but we were left with no option. But my friend researched alternatives to in vitro fertilization, and she found out about St. Paul VI Institute for the Study of Human Reproduction in Omaha, Nebraska. And she suggested that I contact them. So I did. And they told me I need to start learning the Creighton model fertility care system so they can help me. And they connect me with a practitioner to learn how to chart my cycles, to attend the introductory session. I remember that first day at nighttime, after I attended the introductory session, I sat on my bed and I said to myself, I woke up in the middle of the night and I sat in my bed and I said to myself, God did not bring me to the United States just to be a chemistry teacher. I was at that time high school teacher. I said to myself, God wants me to learn this and to teach it to as many women and couples. Little did I know how far I would get to that. Little did I know that I would bring it to Lebanon, like what happened this past fall. But God has it all planned. So I decided to become a practitioner, and then a few years later, I became also an educator and a supervisor, which means I teach those who will teach it to others, because I felt the responsibility to spread it. I felt that women have the right to know about this. I felt that there are other options, and it's time for people to know about them and to find the freedom and their ability to plan their families and to take care of their health. This method relies on biomarker that the woman's body produces. There are different methods, different kind of methods. Some of them relies on the changes in the body temperature. Some methods rely on the changes in the cervical mucus, like the method that I teach, like the Creighton model fertility care system. And some method also rely, in addition to those changes, it relies on the changes in the female hormone. We're not going to spend time talking about the other method. We're going to be focusing on the Creighton model fertility care system because we know it's authentic. It's backed by over 40 years of authentic research. It's an authentic, effective way to plan families. It's an authentic help for infertility, authentic freedom from wondering what's wrong, from living with PMS, from artificial hormones, from living with painful periods. It's also strengthening authentic love with a spice, and it's authentic healthcare for your entire procreative life. And that's the main reason why we're having this session, because you ladies have the right to know that there is a system that can be used to monitor, maintain, and evaluate your own gynecological health. And it can be used from puberty to menopause. I'm just going to give you a brief background about the system. So the system actually came as a response to the challenges of Humani Vitae, an encyclical that Pope Paul VI released in 1968, where he said that contraception is really not good for married couples. And he made appeal to men of science to find ways to help couples avoid getting pregnant without recourse to contraception. So Dr. Thomas Hilgers the founder of the system, or one of the founder, he started the research, and from his research, we end up having the Creighton model fertility care system. And then he built the St. Paul VI Institute for the study of human reproduction. And then after many years with his work in the Creighton model, he started noticing patterns in the charts that he was seeing for the different patients that he was helping. He was able to connect the charts to different gynecological problems. And as a result of that, we have NaProTECHNOLOGY. This picture actually shows Dr. Thomas Holders, who's a gynecologist, and this is his wife, Sue Holders, and this is Ann Peeble, God rest her soul, and this is Diane Daly. Diane Daly and Ann Peeble are nurses, and all those 4 people are the founders or the developers of the Creighton model fertility care system. So the system really came up as a response to the challenge of Humani Vitae, because he was a man of faith and man of science, and he wanted to do something to help couples live their vocation according to God's plan. And he was a man of science, so he used the research, he used what was available to come up with it. Yet, this is not something limited to people of faith. It's not limited to Christians or just to Catholic. And that's why our first, actually, and that to prove that to you, our first medical consultant in the Middle East is from Egypt, and he's a Muslim doctor, Dr. Amr Abu Yazid, who was searching for alternatives to hormonal contraceptive. And he came across NaProTECHNOLOGY, and he applied, and he came to Omaha, and I met him in Omaha that year. And he took the training, and he's been treating women with NaProTECHNOLOGY for at least the past 5-6 years. So this is not limited for people of certain faith. This is for all women, for all people of all religion, all races. It's for women, period. And it's a unique system for women and couples. It's a unique system of fertility regulation. It's a life-affirming women's reproductive health. It really provides an authentic language of women's health and fertility. It's a pro-woman, it's a pro-family, it's a pro-man, it's pro-life, and it's pro-marriage. And it's alternatives to birth control methods and artificial reproductive technology. And you will see through it that it really provides women with a real empowerment, because women can really understand more about their bodies and help treat all those problems. So as I mentioned, it can be used from puberty to menopause. And this is an example of a chart, which we'll talk about it in a little bit. So it can be used whether we're dealing with a single teenager or a young adult, or consecrated woman, or a single celibate young adult woman, or single celibate religious, or if we have a married couple, or if we have a couple struggling with infertility, even women breastfeeding, women in menopausal. So it can be used in all stages of women reproductive health. It can be used by women who are struggling with polycystic ovarian disease, by women, young girls, teenagers, PMS, irregular bleeding, severe menstrual cramps, acne, and heavy periods. And we know a lot of women out there are struggling with these symptoms, and they're being offered artificial hormones as their best options. We are here to tell each one of them there are better options. There is another approach that is more effective, and it's scientifically based. Through the Creighton model system, as we said, we seek to find the root cause and not just the symptoms. So I'm just gonna briefly go through a little bit of reproductive anatomy so we understand what is it based on, or how does it work. So in the woman's body, under the influence of a hormone called estrogen, which is a hormone that would really increase as ovulation approaches, ovarian hormone. This hormone stimulates the cervical crypts to produce a fluid called cervical mucus. That cervical mucus is what the woman learns to track with the Creighton model system. And by tracking it, women can understand when she's fertile, when she's not fertile, and we can determine biomarkers about her body. And this mucus is very essential for fertility, because when we are dealing with a married couple and the woman has the cervical mucus, if an intercourse takes place, the sperm actually can live 3 to 5 days inside the woman's body when there is a good quality of cervical mucus. If there is no mucus, actually it will die right away. It will die within hours or even minutes after the relationship. And that's how it's really important for the fertility process. So what we're seeing here is we're seeing the type E of a mucus, which is present when the estrogen level are high. And you can see this mucus arranges itself into literally a parallel swimming channels that allow the sperm to penetrate when we're talking about couples having intercourse. On the other side, we see that it forms itself into like a stone wall barrier to sperm penetration. It's very thick and dense, and it does not allow the sperm to penetrate. What we're seeing on the bottom here are microscopic photographs of those type of mucus. So with the Creighton model system, woman learns to track the cervical mucus. By tracking the cervical mucus, we have an idea about what's happening inside her body, because the cervical mucus is an external sign resulting from the changes in her hormones. So when there is estrogen, she will observe that mucus. When the progesterone levels are high after ovulation, she will not observe that mucus. This is an example of a chart using the Creighton model fertility care system. So as you can see, we have different phases in the cycle. We have first the menstrual period, which is charted with the red plain stamps. And the woman learns how to describe that by placing the word, the letters. This is what we call the VDRS, or the vaginal discharge recording system. So she's describing it light, heavy, moderate, light, very light. And then she observes a period of dryness. So she charts it with the plain green stamps. And then she observes the mucus. So she charts the mucus with a white stamp with baby on it. And the reason why there is a baby there, just to remind her of her fertility, because that's the time where, if we're dealing with a married couple wanting to achieve a pregnancy, that's the time where they have to focus their acts of intercourse in order to achieve a pregnancy. After ovulation, the woman usually goes back to dryness, and that's when she will see again, she will not see mucus, but she will see dryness, and that's what she charts with the plain green stamps. What I want to point to here is the levels of the estrogen and the progesterone were drawn in this cycle. So the estradiol 17 beta was drawn, and you can see when the levels are high, that's when the woman observes the mucus. When the progesterone levels are high, that's when the woman observes the dryness. So as you can see, the presence and the absence of the cervical mucus correlates with the changes of the hormones in the woman's body. This is an example of a similar chart, but the couple here focused their acts of intercourse on a time of fertility, and as a result of that, they achieved a pregnancy. Usually by first cycle, the effectiveness of achieving pregnancy, if there is no problem, is 76%, and by sixth cycle, it goes up to 98%. So this is really not a birth control. It can be used to achieve pregnancy, avoid a pregnancy, and the most important thing, it can be used to monitor fertility, treat gynecological health problems, and also to treat infertility. It's a true system of family building. It's not contraceptive because it does not do anything to stop conception from happening. It works with the body, cooperatively with the body, the way God designed it to be. And it's not abortifacient. And this is an important point. A lot of women don't realize that when they're taking hormonal birth control, one of the mechanisms of action for the hormonal birth control is really causing abortion in a way, because the hormonal birth control can work in 4 different mechanisms. It can stop ovulation from happening, or it can make the cervical mucus very thick so the sperm cannot penetrate, or it can delay the transport of the egg and the sperm, so this way one will die before they meet and fertilize each other. Or if all of these 3 mechanisms failed and the woman got pregnant, it will stop implantation from happening, which means it will stop the new fertilized egg from attaching itself to the lining cells of the uterus. And this is what a lot of women don't realize, that when they're having this period, the so-called period, after this happens, it might not be really period. It might be shedding of a new life that has been fertilized. And that's why, unfortunately, recently there have been debate about when life begins. because if we consider life beginning at conception, that means it's really causing abortion. Some doctors want to try to change the beginning of life to when implantation happens, so that we cannot say that the hormonal birth control are causing abortion. So this system is not abortifacient. And what we're seeing here is an example of a chart that shows that oral contraceptive do not always suppress ovulation. So this woman was having estrogen level increasing, and she was having also the mucus appearing normally as if she was not on the birth control pill. So in this case, the mechanism of action can be either 2 or 3 or 4, but definitely it was not 1. So we cannot tell just by women taking those hormones which mechanism of action is happening. There has to be more testing done while she's on it for them to figure out if ovulation happened, if the ovum and the egg united or not. So this is not contraceptive, it's not abortifacient, it's not the rhythm method, and it's all natural. Women are not placing any chemicals in their body or any devices. Women are really caring for their bodies. The charting also can tell us a lot about what's happening in the woman's body. So here we see an example of women who started heavy exercise and weight loss program. Notice how the first 3 cycles were normal. She had a period, she had a mucus, and then she had a dryness, although the first one had a premenstrual spotting, which is not something normal. The second one and the third one were more normal, but look what happened in the third one and the fourth one. I meant in the fourth and the fifth one, after she started heavy exercising and weight loss. This is stress that she was putting on her cycle, on her body, was shifting her cycles to complete dryness, which means if she's trying to achieve a pregnancy, she would not be able to get pregnant because the sperm would not be able to penetrate because it would die right away. So the chart can tell us a lot about woman's body, and it does not have any side effects. It's actually completely natural. It's not, there's no carcinogens. It's good for the environment. It doesn't have any harmful side effects. It supports reproductive health. It empowers women because women becomes in tune with their bodies and understand what's happening in their bodies. It supports the dignity of women and dignity of life. It respects women's fertility, and it's also beneficial for couples, and it increases their communication through spice. Through it, couples can cooperate with God's plan for life and love, and it's adaptable. It can be used to achieve or avoid a pregnancy in addition to using it for women's health. It's a shared system. It encourages sexual maturity, self-mastery, increases knowledge. Children are seen as a gift that they are planned, and it promotes healthy lifestyle, and it has a minimal cost compared to taking always hormones or using other methods. This is a story actually from a book called, in their own words, Women Healed. There is a testimony of 50 women whose lives have been enriched by the medical care, education, research efforts of the Institute for the Study of Human Reproduction. And this is a story of a couple who, her name is Jen. A few months before she got married, she went to her gynecologist and she asked for a prescription for the birth control pill. She did not even give a thought to it. They wanted to avoid getting pregnant, and that's what everyone was doing. So after 8 months on the pill, 6 months into their marriage, she didn't get her period. She was so scared that she might be pregnant because they were planning on not achieving pregnancy for 5 years, on not having children for 5 years. She wasn't sure what to do, so after a few tears, she decided to read the literature that came with the birth control pill. And the small booklet, that's what she says, the small booklet explained exactly what the pill was doing to my body. I was sick. When I made the decision to go on the pill, it was not an educated decision. I had not even given a thought to the process of how it worked. I simply was following the social norm. I could not believe I was dumping these chemicals into my body. There was nothing natural about the pill. No wonder infertility was on the rise. The reason why I'm sharing this story with you, because some of you might have been prescribed the birth control pill for treatment of gynecological problems, but they really don't know what it is doing to their bodies. So this woman was sick when she found out what's happening in her body. She felt that she made an uneducated decision. And we really want to empower you to make educated decisions in knowing when to say yes and when to say no to your gynecologist, and knowing how all of these different hormones work in your body. So going back to our story, Jen decided to stop using the pill, and they remembered that in marriage preparation, they heard about the Creighton model fertility care system. So they decided to give it a trial, although they were joking that they're going to get pregnant before their first anniversary. To their surprise, it was very scientifically based. And her husband ended up knowing more about women's body than women do know. And they used the system for 4 years to avoid a pregnancy. And when they were ready, they had their first child and then their second child. They were faced with secondary infertility before they had their third child. But because they were ahead of the game and she had so many cycles charted, they were able to figure out the problem right away. And they were able to achieve a third pregnancy. She says it was gratifying to have one method that can be used in all stages of my reproductive life, coming off the pill, avoiding pregnancy, achieving pregnancy, breastfeeding, even infertility. And their only regret is that they did not enter their marriage with it. She also says something, and I'm going to touch on it at the end of this presentation. She said, as a part of the fertility care system, we learned about SPICE, which stands for spiritual, physical, intellectual, creative, communicative, and emotional. She learned how all those 5 aspects of SPICE make up our true sexuality. And this is a true gift of the method. So they came seeking just to learn how to avoid a pregnancy, but they really got way more from that. So that's a little bit more about Creighton. Creighton does not work on its own. Creighton works in addition with NaProTECHNOLOGY to be able to help women monitor and maintain and evaluate their own gynecological health. NaProTECHNOLOGY cannot work with any other system but the Creighton model fertility care system. The standardizations of the mucus sign through the Creighton model fertility care system is what allows it to be used extensively in a variety of medical applications. And that's what actually led to the birth of NaProTECHNOLOGY, which is a new life affirming women's reproductive science that works cooperatively with the natural cycle. And in Dr. Thomas Hilger's word, it's a science which devotes its medical, surgical, and allied health energies and attentions to cooperating with the natural procreative system. And the word NaProTECHNOLOGY stands for Natural Procreative Technology. So it's a new reproductive science that has developed as a result of the precise information which the fertility care system provides. So it cannot work without it. This restorative reproductive medicine seeks to diagnose, to restore problems. It seeks to provide preconception care, healthy pregnancies, singleton pregnancies, to reduce miscarriage, to reduce prematurity, and really provide a good maternal health and good newborn health. And as you can see in figure 2.1, it shows that this system, this technology, actually, its applications, it has multiple applications to women of different reproductive age, not only to women who want to get pregnant. And it seeks to repair, not suppress, to optimize function and to protect each embryo. And it's really oriented toward the long-term health and success. And it provides a healing approach, not destructive or suppressive approach. So how does it work? Well, as I mentioned, it works with the chart. Everything is timed based on the chart. So let's say a woman, they need to check her hormone levels. They do not just do it randomly, like on day 22 of the cycle to check her progesterone, because day 22 of the cycle might be prior to ovulation. So it doesn't tell us much about her progesterone level. And I can attest to that myself. When we were going through the infertility diagnosis and all of that, I got tested on day 5 of my cycle, and I was told my progesterone levels were fine. When I started learning the Creighton model system, the first thing they discovered, it was I had a low progesterone level, which means there was a high possibility that if we had gone through the IVF, my hormone levels would have not allowed me to carry the pregnancy to term if pregnancy resulted. because of my low progesterone levels. But they were not interested in finding really all the root causes of the problem. Once they found one problem, just go do IVF. So all the testing is based on the chart. So we have some testing that needs to be done in the pre-peak phase before ovulation. They try to test the levels of the estrogen. After ovulation, they test the level of estrogen and the level of progesterone. They don't do it once. They do it on several days, and they draw the curve. And from comparing the results to the normal range, they can figure out if it's in the normal range or if it's below. And then based on that, they will prescribe whatever is needed. So our testing is based on the charting. I know I went over this last time, but I'm going to review it again. So as you can see, this cycle, we have only 1 day of a mucus. That's what we call limited mucus cycle. And that's what we usually see in women struggling with infertility. So this couple, if they really don't know about day 15, they can miss on the correct days trying to achieve pregnancy. And the fact that she has a limited mucus cycle shows that, or can point to some underlying problems that need to be treated. The second chart shows us a cycle, or the second cycle shows us that the woman has a short post-peak phase, which means there's a luteal phase defect. She's not producing enough progesterone, which puts her at a high risk of miscarriage. The third one shows what we refer to as a premenstrual spotting, which is associated with low progesterone, so that can also lead to miscarriages or infertility. The fourth one, we see a lot of plain red stamps indicating abnormal bleeding, which can be due to hormonal problems, to fibroids, and it can be also due to cancer. So really, charting cycles and NaProTECHNOLOGY is for women's health, because the women can be able to see a lot of things in her chart, and from seeing them, she can request a medical evaluation from a medical consultant, and she can get those treated. NaProTECHNOLOGY can be used for family planning, for infertility, for repetitive miscarriage, for hormonal abnormalities, ovarian cysts, irregular or abnormal bleeding, polycystic ovarian disease, endometriosis, menstrual cramps, premenstrual syndrome, postpartum depression, prematurity prevention, chronic discharges, adhesion-free surgery, and other health problems. It really provides real solutions to real problems. We're going to focus on one important problem that so many women suffer from, but they were told it's normal. I'm one of them. We grew up in Lebanon. We were told that whatever you go through before your period, and even the cramping during your period, this is all very normal. Once I start learning the Creighton model, I realized that this is a legitimate medical condition called PMS. And how we identify it is based on all those symptoms if a woman is experiencing them days before her period starts, like irritability, breast tenderness, bloating, weight gain, carbohydrate cravings, cry easily, depression, headache, fatigue, insomnia. And the incidence of women having those PMS and struggling with infertility and spontaneous abortion have shown to be really high. What we're seeing here is a comparison of response to treatment of PMS by using HCG support or progesterone support. You can see there is a marked improvement compared to using other techniques like fluoxetine 20 milligram. What we're seeing here is an example of a chart where the woman's hormonal profile was done. So her progesterone and estradiol and beta endorphin were actually detected or measured on peak +3, peak +5, peak +7, peak +9, peak +11. And here we've seen it after she started taking progesterone. I want you to notice the difference. Peak +7, her progesterone was 6.3. Once she started taking progesterone, it became in the normal range. Actually, I'm sorry, she did not take progesterone. She was on HCG support. So she was treated with HCG luteal phase support because sometimes progesterone by itself might not be enough, especially if the estrogen level are not in the normal range. So this woman had hormonal problems with the progesterone and the estrogen. So they treated that by giving her HCG injection. And as a result of that, her progesterone and her estradiol levels were in the normal range where they should be. I've had a client who had probably 7 of those symptoms for like 5 days before her period begins. Some days she couldn't go to work, especially because of the depression, the cry easily. So after she charted her cycle for 3 cycles with the created model, we did the blood work for her. Dr. Watson ordered the hormonal profile, and it showed that she had a low progesterone level. I remember first cycle, she was on the progesterone. She reported back to me she did not know her period was coming because 99% of her symptoms were gone. So this has proven to be really effective. Women do not need to continue to suffer when this legitimate medical condition can be treated using created model and NaProTECHNOLOGY. We see in this example of a patient who was treated with a progesterone vaginal capsules, 300 milligram, from peak +3 to peak +12. We notice in the 4th cycle, she decided not to take progesterone, so her post-peak phase was shorter than other period, and her symptoms recurred. The client that I just mentioned, she was on progesterone for a few cycles, and then her progesterone level came back to normal, and she didn't need to continue on taking it every month. She used it for probably 6 months, and she was on the progesterone. She was using it to avoid pregnancy. And then when they were ready to have their family, they didn't have any problem achieving pregnancy because one of the major problems that could have impacted their ability to conceive was already treated by using progesterone, which also treated her premenstrual syndrome. So this is another story from the book. I'm amazed at how different I felt. This is a woman who struggled with a lot of symptoms, irritability, fatigue, feeling down, crying easily. And she did not know that this is a legitimate medical condition. She was told it's normal and everyone has to go through it. And then one time someone suggested to her to contact the Institute. And after she did, and they tested her blood level, they put her actually on progesterone injection shots, and she felt so different. She says, I'm amazed at the difference in how I feel. I am much calmer, and the fatigue and depression symptoms have significantly decreased. There are some months where I feel so good, I do not even realize my cycle is about to begin. There's another story where a woman, because of her PMS, and because she was having obviously a problem, ovarian dysfunction problem, she had multiple miscarriages, and she suffered a lot from those symptoms. And even after her last pregnancy, she suffered from postpartum depression. She says she became so depressed. She had a passive death wish. She wanted to die. She felt so miserable, but because of her strong faith, she thought she would never do anything about that wish, but she felt disconnected from her body at times. That story is titled The Question That Changed My Life. So she got in touch with the Institute, and they tested her blood work at the age of 44. And when the nurse called her back, she asked her what she refers to as the $1 million question. Debbie, your hormones are very low. Are you ever depressed? She realized that what she's been going through, even probably most likely her miscarriages, were all due to the fact that she has a very low hormones that none of the doctors discovered, and she was suffering for so long because of that. So this is another example of how important this is for women's health. Women do not need to continue to suffer. Women can really find real solutions to the real problems. So many couples are suffering with infertility, and they're being told unexplained. And they're feeling this journey is hopeless, and it's just too much. For those couples, we want to say it's time to explore a more effective science than IVF. NaProTECHNOLOGY looks at infertility as a disease-based approach. If couple cannot get pregnant, there is a problem. Why not? They try to answer the question, why not? To find the problem, seek out the underlying causes, to repair using current medical science, and to facilitate conceptions through the loving and self-giving action of husband and wife. This is an example of different cycles from couples struggling with infertility. It can be a limited mucus cycle, it can be dry cycles, it can be normal cycle, it can be male factor, it can be short luteal phase. So there can be different things, but as I mentioned, all the testing, the timing of the fertility test is based on the chart, whether it's with the hormonal test or with the procedure or with the hysterosalpingography. It's all based on the test. So this is a story of a couple who had 4 miscarriages, and they were told it's something common, or maybe something is wrong with the baby, or it's bad luck. They came to Dr. Hilgers, and based on the charts, Dr. Hilgers expected endometriosis, which he removed during surgery, and her hormonal profile showed low estrogen and progesterone levels and factor V Leiden positive and some issues with the thyroid. After he treated all of that, they were able to conceive, and they had twin sons, and they named one of them Tom after Dr. Thomas Hilgers. So this has been really offering hope and healing for couples struggling with infertility. It's not 100%, nothing in life is 100%, but one thing I can say, I can attest to it from my own experience, they really seek to help the couples find the problems and treat the problems. And they look at the person in front of them as a human being with dignity who deserves their respect and their time, not as a dollar sign where we can get a lot of money from it. This is an example of a patient with dry cycles and 7 years of infertility. Vitamin B6 was recommended as a mucus enhancing supplement. And in the last cycle, there was a limited mucus, 1 day of fertility, and the couple got pregnant and they had a baby 9 months later. So this can be also helpful in cases of low sperm count, where the most important thing that can be done is really increasing the quality of the cervical mucus. This is an example of a couple where the husband has a severe oligospermia, and yet by using the Created Model Fertility Care System and NaProTECHNOLOGY, the couple were able to achieve a pregnancy. This shows comparison of success rates between NaProTECHNOLOGY and in vitro fertilization. So if the infertility is due to endometriosis, with NaProTECHNOLOGY, the success rate ranges from 56.7 to 76.4. With IVF, 21.2. Granted, keep that in your mind, it does not treat the endometriosis. So the woman is still suffering with those symptoms. If she has polycystic ovaries, the success rate is 62.5 to 80%. She undergoes ovarian wedge resection. She's not suffering with those symptoms that she has from the polycystic ovarian disease. If she does IVF, the success rate is 25.6%, and they will not treat her polycystic ovarian disease. Tubal occlusion, 38.4%, and with IVF, it's 27.2%. So NaProTECHNOLOGY actually seeks to find the problem, so the diseases are identified, they are treated, foundation is laid for future success, more total pregnancies are achieved, multiple pregnancy rate is low, prematurity rate is low, no frozen embryos, fertility-focused intercourse, per woman pregnancy rate is higher, and it's most cost-effective. It's not built on foundation of destroying life, and there is no speed to pregnancy as greater with NaProTECHNOLOGY because it takes a longer time with NaProTECHNOLOGY than IVF. IVF, just the next cycle, woman goes in and does it. With NaPro, it can take a few cycles because charts have to be done, a testing needs to take place, surgery has to happen. But one thing for sure, we know it is more successful than IVF. So I'm gonna just show you briefly a few pictures. This is example of polycystic ovarian disease. This condition is often associated with long and irregular cycles, infertility, and increased risk of uterine cancer. And the ovaries are characteristically, they're large. So they treat them by doing ovarian wedge resection to make the size of the ovaries go back to normal. So this is an example of a chart from a woman who's suffering with polycystic ovarian disease. Before the wedge resection, she has a long cycle, and she has a long mucus cycle also. This is an example of endometriosis and a woman achieving the pregnancy after her endometriosis was treated. And this is a pelvic adhesion surgery where the woman had undergone with the creatine extensive pelvic adhesions and blocked fallopian tubes. And they were able to restore things back. I know there were questions about premenopause. I'm just going to mention briefly, premenopause is, we know, the period of time leading up to menopause or away from it for over a year or two. With the Creighton model system, when a woman achieves her 40th birthday, we put her in a perimenopausal category. We know that it can range anywhere from 37 to 56. Hot flashes, vaginal dryness, mood swings, painful intercourse, irregular cycles, stressful time. These are all symptoms of perimenopausal. I was asked last time about what can be done. There is a hormonal replacement therapy. There is no one size fit in all. It's unique by each case is unique, but I want to just direct you to a website where you can go there and you can see a different, click on the different cases that I mentioned and more than I mentioned. So like example for the perimenopause, it explains more about it, explains about the hormones, and it suggests what can be done according to NaProTECHNOLOGY. So this is to give you this information, knowledge, but it doesn't give the treatment. But you can find a lot of information about these different situations that NaProTECHNOLOGY can help, like with PMS, with the polycystic ovarian disease, with the endometriosis, and all of that. So I hope that you were able to see my screen. Hold on, sorry. So I was sharing with you website, but I don't know if my screen was showing. So this website shows different cases that NaProTECHNOLOGY can be very beneficial and can help a woman with. We're almost done with our slides, Cheryl. So this is an example of a few cycles charted with the Creighton. So it can be regular, it can be short cycles with early ovulation, it can be dry cycles, it can be unusual bleeding. So we've seen different patterns happening in premenopausal. Even though the unusual bleeding is common, we still have to have it referred to the medical consultant to root out any serious problems. This slide shows the effectiveness summary of comparing NaProTECHNOLOGY versus ART and a current medical approach. I'm just going to point to you the PMS. So the PMS, NaProTECHNOLOGY is 95.2. With current treatment antidepressant, it's 43%. Postpartum depression with NaProTECHNOLOGY is 92.4 to 96.7%. And antidepressant, anti-anxiety medicine is slow. It shows a slow improvement over a period of 6 to 12 months. The prematurity and severe prematurity rate is, as you can see, it's very low with NaProTECHNOLOGY. It's a little bit higher with current medical approach, traditional treatment. Recurrent spontaneous abortion, which means miscarriage, it's 79% at a lower rate, and here it prevents it, actually 79%, and the current medical approach, it does not prevent it like that. The last part of our slides is just a SPICE, which is a great tool for women to take care of themselves, and it's also a tool for couples to show love to each other in different ways through spiritual, physical, intellectual, communicative, and emotional. Our sexuality is multidimensional. We're not just physical being. We're made up of emotions. We're made up of spirit, intellect. So it's very important for us to take care of ourselves on all these different levels. And we teach the woman SPICE as a tool for self-care, where she has to take care of herself spiritually, by whether it's connecting with God, walking in nature and meditating, reading spiritual books, going to church, to prayer services, physical, exercising, caring for herself, intellectually reading things that will really inspire her and help her, communicative and creative, finding ways of communicating with people who can help build her up, and emotional, be able to really express her feeling. So SPICE is what I mentioned in one of the story, and it has proven to be really a great tool for couples and for women to take care of themselves and their relationship. We provide them with many examples of how women on her own or couples together can use a SPICE and can just spice up their relationship on every level, and just increase that communication between each other. So now that you've heard all of this, we really encourage you to help us to spread the word. Together we can build a better future and stronger marriages. If anyone is interested in knowing more, the next step can be to attend an introductory session to start charting your cycles and to find a NaProTECHNOLOGY medical consultant. And you can follow us on social media to know more. We have upcoming events. I would encourage you to attend them. And if you cannot attend them, I encourage you to still register for them. I think the timing for those who live in the UK and Lebanon might not work. These are 8 p.m. Eastern time. But if you have some medical questions that I shouldn't be answering, honestly, I can ask those questions when we have our presentation with Dr. Angela Christine, who's a NaProTECHNOLOGY medical consultant. So if you would like to know more about these presentations, you can register online and we can send you the recording once it's done. We have other series of presentations in Arabic, so that's in English. This is in Arabic happening at 8 p.m. Lebanon time, and it will start on Wednesday, March 20. 3 different presentations, one of them about create and model, one about contraception, the science and the ethics of it, and one about IVF and NaProTECHNOLOGY. So we encourage you to consider tuning in for those talks to know more and encourage others to learn more. Any questions? I'm going to stop sharing my screen on purpose. So are there any questions? Oh, I forgot to
Hi.
share the picture. Yes, Joelle.
Yes, it's Josette.
Sorry.
So I'm 45 years old, and my doctor told me that I'm at the phase of menopause. I stopped having my period, and since I'm still young, he suggested that I should take hormones, but I don't want to take them. So what's the alternative?
Okay, why is he suggesting that you take hormones?
Because I'm still young and he wants to protect my my
Bones and
bones.
all of that. Yeah. So
Yes.
we have, I don't know much detail, as I mentioned, because I'm not a medical professional. Hormonal replacement therapy that our doctors do, but they would do it, it's a case by case. Your blood work has to be done. And when our doctors prescribe hormones, they would prescribe bioidentical hormones. That's something that I forgot to say in the presentation. So like, let's say a woman needs progesterone or estrogen. What they prescribe is bioidentical. So it's very similar in its chemical structure to what our body produces. And it does not have any side effects on the woman's body. So that's the difference between the hormones that a lot of doctors are prescribed, the hormones that are in the birth control pill, and the hormones that our doctors would prescribe. So I cannot say for sure what should be done in your case, but I can tell you that we have hormonal replacement therapy, but it's case by case. So I would really suggest that you connect. I don't know where you are located, Josette, in which country?
In Lebanon.
In Lebanon. So I would really suggest that you connect with Dr. Alain Chalhou, so that this way you can see what exactly NaProTECHNOLOGY can do for you. And if you need his contact, cedaroflebanonfcc.com. That's our website. You can go on the website and click on Create and Model Fertility Care System and NaProTECHNOLOGY in Lebanon and New Faces, and you will see Dr. Alain's contact information right here. So you can contact him via this number or this email, and he will tell you what exactly you need to be doing.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, I need to ask a question. Sorry for my voice. I'm sick. Sorry.
No worries.
You said in one of the presentations that there can be a surgery intervention.
Yes.
Can you please describe this surgery intervention, and how it will be done, and how and what will include this intervention?
So it depends on the case, but let's say in the case of endometriosis, there might be need for laparoscopic procedure where they place a scope in the abdomen of the woman, and with the laser, they remove the endometriosis. Or it can be, if we're dealing with a woman who has a polycystic ovarian disease, it can be ovarian wedge resection where they kind of cut parts from the ovary to help the ovary go back to its normal size. So there are surgeries that a lot of gynecologists do, but with the created model system, with the NaProTECHNOLOGY, they do them a little bit differently to minimize the pelvic adhesions. So like ovarian wedge resection is not done by most gynecologists any longer, but it's done by the NaProTECHNOLOGY medical consultant. The reason why they don't do it anymore, they said it causes pelvic adhesions. Well, our NaProTECHNOLOGY medical consultant learned to do it in a certain way to minimize the adhesions and to treat the problem and help women. So these are the two examples that can come to my mind related to surgeries. Someone asked about social media. I'm sorry.
So I have another question, please.
Yes.
Concerning if a woman has underlined and have attended more than one IVF, is the NaProTECHNOLOGY method effective for her too, or no? She should not seek help in NaProTECHNOLOGY. Sorry, for example, if you have done more than one IVF, will it be efficient, or it will not be applied on her case, or what?
If she has done IVF, that would not stop her from seeking help with the creatine and NaProTECHNOLOGY. We've had so many couples. There is a story of Stephanie and I think her husband, Tony, who've had IVF and it failed, and they were told they had age eggs. And they came to Dr. Holgers and he treated her with surgery, and then she had a healthy baby after that. So we've had success with many couples who've had multiple times IVF and it failed, and they came and they were able to detect the problem, treat the problem, and have the couple conceive naturally. So definitely they can seek out this alternative route, and they can check creatine model and NaProTECHNOLOGY, even if they did IVF before.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. I noticed in the question someone asked about the social media. So we're on Instagram and on Facebook, Cedar of Lebanon FCC on Instagram, Cedar of Lebanon Fertility Care Center on Facebook. I think there were other questions in the chat.
Maria, in the chat, yes, there's a question.
Yes.